Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. In ancient China, when talking about corrupt officials, many people would first think of Shen. Among corrupt officials, he was truly outstanding, an unprecedented figure. And one that would be hard to surpass in the future. In the end, his downfall was tragic. However, what many people don't know is that Shen had long foreseen his fate. Before his death, he left 2 secret instructions for his family. These 2 instructions were precisely what allowed his family lineage to survive to this day. So, what exactly did he say? And how are his descendants doing now? According to historical records, in the late years of Emperor Qianlong's reign, the Qing dynasty appeared to be prosperous and flourishing on the surface. However, in reality, problems had already begun to emerge within the empire. When Qianlong was young, he governed the country with strict discipline, managing the affairs inherited from the Kangxi and Yongzheng reigns in an orderly and meticulous manner. National tax revenue increased year after year. But in his later years, his mindset changed. He became entirely focused on enjoying life, particularly fond of traveling to the south. Many people have heard about Qianlong's 6 southern tours. Every time he traveled south, he was accompanied by thousands of people. The fleet consisted of hundreds of ships, and wherever he went, the grandeur of the entourage was overwhelming. Each southern tour alone cost at least 20 million taels of silver. If the imperial treasury was short on funds, local officials had to find ways to cover the costs. Some regions even resorted to increasing taxes, extracting money from commoners. As a result, people outside the capital felt that the government had become lax and indulgent. And dissatisfaction among local officials and citizens gradually increased. It was during this period that the notorious corrupt official, Shen, emerged. Shen started as an imperial guard when he was young. In just over a decade, his promotion was astonishingly fast. He rose all the way to the position of Vice Minister of Revenue, overseeing the empire's finances. This coincided perfectly with Qianlong's obsession with southern tours. Shen quickly grasped the emperor's preferences. Every time Qianlong embarked on a journey, he arranged everything with meticulous detail. Temporary palaces were built along the route, food and drinks were prepared flawlessly. And even the tiniest aspects of the ships were attended to with absolute perfection. Historical records state that Shen, responsible for the imperial household department, was dedicated to organizing extravagant events for the emperor, keeping himself extremely busy. When Qianlong traveled south, he felt greatly honored and was in an excellent mood, naturally perceiving Shen as an exceptionally capable minister. It's easy to see that Shen's strategy was brilliant. Qianlong never had to worry about money, and the burden on the national treasury seemed manageable. Deep down, Qianlong was aware that Shen was not entirely clean, but since Shen helped ease many of his burdens, he turned a blind eye to many of Shen's corrupt activities. Rumors spread that Shen had climbed the ranks by using such tactics to please the emperor, ultimately becoming his most trusted steward. Moreover, Shen was not only skilled at currying favor with the emperor but also had a remarkable talent for making money. He controlled the salt industry, a necessity for every household, making enormous profits. Additionally, Shen traveled to Guangzhou to get involved with the 13 Hangs, merchant guild specializing in trade with Europe. Through these connections, he conducted business with Europeans, accumulating vast wealth. Records indicate that his home was filled with imported goods, such as clocks and glassware, in a dazzling variety. He also opened several major banks, controlling high-interest loans. It's clear that these ventures were highly dubious, yet Shen managed to operate them all smoothly and successfully. The money he earned was split into 3 portions, one for Qianlong's extravagant spending, one for bribing officials in the imperial court, and the rest for investments, expanding his business empire further. During Qianlong's reign, as long as Shen was favored, He could simultaneously hold government office and conduct business without interference from the court. People gossiped that his wealth had grown so immense that even minor officials in the provinces had to obey him. Moreover, relying on Emperor Qianlong's protection, He Shen was extremely arrogant in the court, showing no regard even for the crown prince. At the time, Jiaqing was still a prince, and he particularly despised He Shen. In 1795, He Shen was responsible for arranging the marriage of Jiaqing's sister, Princess Hejia. He insisted on marrying her to his own son, Fengsheninda. Jiaqing was deeply frustrated but had to endure it, waiting for the right opportunity to deal with He Shen. As soon as Emperor Qianlong passed away, Jiaqing took action immediately. On the third day after Qianlong's death, Emperor Jiaqing ordered He Shen's arrest. Jiaqing had been holding back for so long, anticipating this very moment. Before He Shen could even react, the new emperor had his residence sealed. And the imperial guard surrounded all of his properties, including his banks. The move was swift. Jiaqing even ordered He Shen's subordinates to surrender, dismantling his entire power base. During the confiscation of his assets, He Shen was charged with a total of 20 crimes. Inside his residence, gold and silver were piled up like mountains. And he owned numerous estates and properties. According to the draft history of Qing, a staggering 800 million taels of silver were seized, enough to sustain the Qing Empire's finances for several years. A few days after his arrest, on the 8th day of the first lunar month, He Shen was ordered to commit suicide. The public widely discussed his downfall, believing that this was truly the end for him. Emperor Jiaqing's decisive action relieved the entire court of his oppressive presence. While in prison, He Shen did not show much panic. Knowing there was no chance of survival, he began thinking of ways to protect his family. He left behind 2 instructions: destroy the family genealogy, and never rebuild the ancestral hall. This simple yet effective tactic worked brilliantly. Without a genealogy record, the court had no way of tracing his descendants, and without an ancestral hall, there was no physical landmark to connect them. As a result, no one knew where his family had gone. He also instructed his descendants to change their surname, scatter across different regions, and take up farming, staying far away from politics. Historical records indicate that his son successfully survived. It was largely thanks to Emperor Jiaqing, who spared him out of consideration for his sister, Princess Hejia. This alone proves how shrewd He Shen was. His quick thinking ensured his family's survival. In the years that followed, He Shen's descendants finally found a way to settle down. The court had no interest in pursuing them further. They fled to Lianying in the northeast, a region that was the birthplace of the Manchu people. Back when Emperor Qianlong was still alive, he had sent 3,000 young bannermen to that area to cultivate land and establish 24 settlements, farming and defending the frontier. Upon arriving there, He Shen's family changed their surname and integrated into the local community, living a simple farming life. Historical records describe Lianying as a place with little land but a dense population. Bannermen children had to cultivate new fields themselves, making life extremely difficult. In order to blend in, He Shen's descendants even altered their accent, putting in significant effort to assimilate. The children played with local villagers, and over time, people forgot that they were He Shen's family. It was clear that they were remarkably clever, hiding their identity so well that they remained undetected. Despite the various upheavals the Qing dynasty experienced, He Shen's descendants managed to stay safe. Folk records suggest that they lived like ordinary farmers, leading steady lives. They remained in the northeast for 200 years, maintaining a simple existence while preserving Manchu customs. During the Lunar New Year, they would return home to offer incense to their ancestors. Their ancestral portraits were hung on the western wall, and household traditions remained unchanged. They kept He Shen's portrait but dared not speak much about him, maintaining a low profile. Even after the fall of the Qing dynasty, they continued to rely on their skills to make a living. adapting to their new circumstances while keeping their heritage intact. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.